When Jurassic Park, Steven Spielberg's iconic 1993 film adaptation of Michael Crichton's 1990 novel of the same name was released, the science depicted on screen was near enough accurate for the time. Following on from the revolutionary discoveries made in the dinosaur renaissance, the extinct creatures depicted were not slow, sluggish, and unintelligent dragon-like animals, but moved and behaved more like animals. They thought, they ran, they communicated. They were diverse in form and function, and at the time, were very new to the general public. The story follows the wild vision of John Hammond, portrayed by Richard Attenborough, as he brings to life a theme park filled with living, breathing dinosaurs, brought back to life from DNA preserved in amber. The film saw great success, remaining today one of the most famous and well-loved science fiction pictures. Although its two sequels under the Jurassic Park moniker are not as revered. After Jurassic Park 3, released in 2001, the series enjoyed a long hiatus, only to be revived under the Jurassic World franchise name in 2015. Set in the same fictional universe, this series follows the events after the eventual collapse of the original park, where a new, modernized dinosaur zoo, Jurassic World, has been established. Upon the initial announcement of Jurassic World as a direct sequel to the Jurassic Park movies, the paleontology community pondered whether or not the filmmakers would update their science yet again to suit the even more modern knowledge that many dinosaurs, specifically the theropods, were feathered, speedy creatures with pronated forelimbs and bird-like bodies. For the most part, they did not. In fact, the film series did quite the opposite, throwing viewers into a world where scientists, under the impression that park guests are getting bored by the same old dinosaurs, create deadly hybrids, blending the DNA of dinosaurs, living reptiles, and other creatures together to create the ultimate killing machines. The series did not ultimately live up to the acclaim of the very first Jurassic Park film, and ultimately, the films in the Jurassic World series alone have been met with gradually decreasingly negative views over the course of their release dates. However, Jurassic World Dominion, the most recent addition to the franchise, released on the 10th of June 2022, began to acknowledge some of their previous scientific errors. Feathered dinosaurs, albeit ones that looked pretty much exactly like the other theropods, wearing a downy coat, were introduced to the story. Pyroraptor and Therizinosaurus were included, and while they weren't perfect, they were something of a step forward for the science involved at least. Today, we will be running through what the recent additions to the story, 2015's Jurassic World, 2018's Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and 2022's Jurassic World Dominion got wrong. Many species of dinosaur are included throughout these three films, and as such, we cannot go into depth on every single one. Rather, we will be looking at the scientific errors as a whole, exploring broadly across the major dinosaur groups what made the science in these films stand out. We hope you enjoy. Before we get into the rest of the dino delights, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Surfshark VPN. Have you ever thought about what it would be like to surf a shark? If so, then what about a megalodon, which is generally accepted to be about 60 feet long from nose to tail? Can you imagine how much safer you'd feel in the treacherous waters of the internet if you were surfing a megalodon? Its teeth were over 7 inches long, which would snap up anything dangerous before it could get to you. 2023 is a year to be traveling again, whether that's in person or virtually. Surfshark VPN will keep you safe online, masking your private data and allowing you access to sites and platforms all over the world, no matter where you are. There's nothing more annoying than checking flight prices and then coming back to find out that they're more expensive, based only on your device. Surfshark VPN can help you get the best deals when shopping online by blocking your location and device data, making sure that you're not spending more than you need to. It's also great having Surfshark because it means I can stay safe even when I'm in a cafe and accessing the public Wi-Fi. I know I can keep surfing with my Shark Buddy, as my data will be encrypted and people won't be able to access any of my sensitive information. And for the details, well, there's absolutely no risk in trying out Surfshark. It's really easy to use. You've got a 30-day money-back guarantee. You can share it with all your dino friends. There's even a new free feature that lets you know whether a website has had a security breach in the past. So what are you waiting for? Use my code DinosaurDiscovery to get your very own Megalodon protector who will keep you safe while surfing the net. You'll get 83% off and an extra 3 months for free. Across the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World franchises, Ornithischian dinosaurs are generally represented as huge, lumbering brutes, lacking intelligence and only really serving to provide food for the stars of the show, the raptors and the tyrannosaurs. There are, however, some exceptions. In one scene, Ankylosaurus is seen running away from an impending eruption. In life, it is unlikely that Ankylosaurus would have been able to run at all, in any situation. A heavily armored creature, it would have relied upon its tough skin, hard osteoderms, and armored back to defend itself from attacks from predators, and as a result, would have opted to stand and defend itself rather than run away. At its fastest, it could likely only manage a brisk walk. The Ankylosaurus depicted in the films also boast long, sharp spikes embedded into their flanks, something that, in the real-life dinosaur, would have been replaced by flat, tough, bony plates that allowed the dinosaur to defend itself, utilizing its heavy tail club as a means of offense. The same goes for the iconic Stegosaurus. In the same scene, these large Jurassic herbivores, known for the plates running down their backs and the spiked weaponry adorning the end of their tails, can be seen running in the same context. Likely, the bulk of Stegosaurus's body and the weight of its bony adornments would have made it very tough for these creatures to move at speed. Jurassic World, the first installment of the franchise, also shows Stegosaurus dragging its tail along the ground, in a callback to the old-style paleo art of much of the 1900s, when dinosaurs were still depicted as being sluggish, slow-moving monsters. In reality, Stegosaurus would have been able to hold its long, powerful tail out horizontally from its body, able to lithely move it from left to right in order to defend itself against attackers. Hadrosaurs have also been portrayed inaccurately throughout the course of the Jurassic World series. In life, these large animals were abundant throughout the Cretaceous period and would have often been adorned in strange crests, perhaps vivid in coloration. They were also known for having hoof-like structures on the end of each front foot. In Jurassic World Dominion, this appears to have been largely ignored, as the forefeet of an iguanodon appear to be clawed in individual digits. Iguanodon would also not have been able to move its tail flexibly from left to right, as shown in the film. Having said this, however, the Parasaurolophus from Dominion doesn't look too bad from a scientific standpoint. Speculative colors have been added to the face and frill. The creature looks generally more fleshed out and plump, and hoof-like structures are apparent. However, the animal is at one point depicted in a snowy environment. Given the adaptations associated with the creature and the warmer, coastal, or upland paleo environment it is known to have inhabited, it is unlikely that Parasaurolophus would have been able to survive in a snowy tundra for long. Agility in the Jurassic World sauropods also appears to have been overestimated. Apatosaurus, a gigantic, long-necked herbivore who, in life, would have reached almost 20,000 kilograms in weight, is seen running alongside Brachiosaurus, a tall Jurassic sauropod. In life, neither of these creatures would have been able to move faster than a slightly faster version of walking. Another issue with the Jurassic World Apatosauruses are their feeding habits. Apatosaurus is seen in the film chewing its food thoroughly, something which would not have happened in life. In reality, Apatosaurus, along with many other genuses of sauropod, would have swallowed the plant matter they ate whole before gulping down stones to aid in digestion and breakdown of the plant matter once in the stomach. Chewing would not have been necessary, and its teeth were not even equipped for it. They were used mainly for stripping trees of their leaves, where they made a direct journey to the stomach. Neck structure and use in sauropods is also portrayed inaccurately in the Jurassic World films. Dreadnoughtus, a relatively obscure late Cretaceous giant which appears in the final installment of the franchise, Jurassic World Dominion, can be seen raising its neck up to a near vertical position. In life, this would not have been possible, as the neck was relatively inflexible, and the dinosaur held its gigantic neck out pretty much straight in front of it, anchored by its almost equally massive tail. Overall, the sauropods in Jurassic World aren't too badly done to in terms of inaccuracies, especially when compared to the theropods. The only other thing missing from their design is a subjective lack of adventure or creativity when it comes to their overall appearance. In modern times, sauropods have been reconstructed with all sorts of colors, adornments, and behaviors that have been omitted from the drab, gray-brown creatures of the Jurassic World films. Perhaps in later installments, they will push the boat out a bit more. The stars of the show across the Jurassic World franchise are without a doubt the Theropods. They are depicted in many shapes and sizes, and a good proportion of the groups are represented across the 3 films. Beginning with the tyrant lizard king itself, Tyrannosaurus rex is not particularly well portrayed in the franchise's films. Firstly, the dinosaur is depicted as a perfectly smooth, relatively featureless animal. In life, even if only a little, Tyrannosaurus would have been lightly coated in filamentous feathers. Depictions of T-Rex have changed drastically over the years, but the recent science regarding the most iconic dinosaur ever discovered could have led to a slightly more adventurous depiction of it in the films. We still don't know exactly how feathered Tyrannosaurus was, but scientists are leaning towards the idea that it was not fully coated in them. Whilst fun to look at, the star of the Jurassic World films still has a long way to go in terms of its appearance. Tyrannosaurus, along with almost all of the other large theropods in the films, are shown to be capable of roaring. This is certainly inaccurate, based on recent studies surrounding the structure of the bones in Tyrannosaurus's ears. Lightweight and sensitive, the ear of a Tyrannosaurus was much more closely aligned to its relatives, the birds, in that its hearing was keen, sensitive, and could have been easily damaged by loud noises at close range. In life, it is thought that Tyrannosaurus would have been able to make only low-pitched sounds, some of which may even have been indiscernible to human ears. A roaring T-Rex could have easily led to an individual damaging its own ears, thus putting a swift end to the hearing it would have relied upon for hunting and communication. One final issue we see with the Tyrannosaurus in the films is that, in scenes where it and other large theropods are hunting humans, we are led to believe that the humans will be safe so long as they don't move, as the dinosaur will be unable to sense them. This is a callback to the original Jurassic Park, but in real life would have been very inaccurate. Studies of Tyrannosaurus's skull showed that it relied upon its eyesight for hunting, and that said, eyesight was indeed very strong. Even so, if this was true, it wouldn't have stopped the dinosaur from using its extremely good sense of smell from making a kill. On the other hand of the theropod spectrum, we have the raptors, as they're referred to on screen. The raptors in question are dromaeosaurs, the lineage of speedy, swift predators, known to inhabit much of the world throughout the Cretaceous period. Velociraptor is the most commonly depicted creature under this umbrella in the films, and the first thing you'll notice about it, when contrasted with scientific reconstructions of the animal, is that the animals in the film lack feathers. All dromaeosaurs, without exception, are known to have been covered in layers of feathers, which, in life, would have been used for communication, signaling, display, and insulation. In the films, the velociraptors are scaly, not a feather in sight. The velociraptors in the films are also not visually velociraptors. Their size leads them more on the path towards Utahraptor, the largest of the dromaeosaurs, and facially, they look more like Deinonychus. What's more, regarding their facial structures, is the fact that they almost look evil. At all times, the creatures are depicted as calculating, cunning killers, with intelligence that would have far surpassed their real-life counterparts. Let's not forget that these dinosaurs were just that, dinosaurs, with very little sway one way or the other in terms of moral conscience. Finally, the velociraptor in the films are shown to be pack hunters. In real life, we have no evidence that these creatures hunted in packs, and this is pure speculation. This brings us to Pyroraptor. In Jurassic World Dominion, the filmmakers did indeed make an effort to bring a touch of reality to the dromaeosaurs by feathering one of them. This was Pyroraptor, a creature that, in the film, was portrayed as a swimming creature, which dives after its prey like a cormorant or a gannet. Several issues are present here. The first being that we have no evidence in the fossil record that Pyroraptor was semi-aquatic, nor that it could dive after its prey at such speed. What's more is that in the film, Pyroraptor's feathers don't look adapted in any way to be diving after prey. Think of the short, streamlined feathers of a puffin or a gannet, sleek and waterproof, allowing the creature to dip in and out of waves after fish. Pyroraptor, in the films, is shown with parrot-like feathers, crimson red in color, that would have stuck out like a sore thumb in the snowy environment it is depicted in. Moreover, these feathers are long and do not look waterproof, which would have created copious amounts of drag in the water, making it an inefficient hunter. Add to that the fact that it shows no other obvious adaptations for life under the waves, for example, webbed digits, and you've got one inaccurate dinosaur. Various other theropods are represented throughout the franchise that you might not instantly associate with Jurassic World. Giganotosaurus, the gigantic carnivorous carcharodontosaurid, native to late Cretaceous South America, makes an appearance in the most recent installment of the franchise, Jurassic World Dominion. The beginning of the film flashes back 65 million years in the past, to a time when dinosaurs supposedly ruled the world, where we see a Tyrannosaurus rex locked in combat with a Giganotosaurus. There are multiple things inaccurate about this. Firstly, by 65 million years in the past, the extinction of the dinosaurs was well underway. And to see so many dinosaurs thriving in one place at the same time would not have been commonplace. Secondly, not only did Tyrannosaurus and Giganotosaurus live at different times, they did not even live on the same continent. Tyrannosaurus was one of the very last dinosaurs alive on Earth at the end of the Cretaceous period, going extinct around 66 million years ago. Whereas Giganotosaurus, native to Patagonia in South America, went extinct around 95 million years ago, long before Tyrannosaurus had even evolved. Getting down to the appearance of Giganotosaurus itself, it's a creature which, in the film, is adorned with spikes, humps, and hardened osteoderms on its skin, something which Giganotosaurus and its relatives didn't possess in real life. Additionally, the dinosaur is described by a character in the film as the biggest terrestrial carnivore ever to walk the Earth. This too is incorrect, as larger theropods from North America, including Tyrannosaurus itself, which in the film is portrayed as being smaller than Giganotosaurus, was much larger. A cavalcade of other theropods are shown throughout the series too. In Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, we are introduced to Baryonyx, a relative of the infamous Spinosaurs, discovered from fossil deposits in the UK. It caused a stir amongst the scientific community when the film was released, due to the fact that the dinosaur portrayed on screen was almost unidentifiable as Baryonyx. With its broad snout, shrink-wrapped body, and short claws, it has none of the adaptations that made the real Baryonyx so unique, looking more like a bipedal crocodile than a dinosaur. In real life, Baryonyx owned a long, slender, gharial-like snout for snapping up fish, and long claws to help it catch them. There is also a scene where a Baryonyx individual comes into direct contact with lava, only to flinch slightly. In reality, this would have been a serious injury, or even a death sentence. Contact with lava would have meant definite third-degree burns and melting of the skin and scales, impacting the dinosaur's ability to hunt, or perhaps even walk. Dilophosaurus, a slender, crested theropod from early Jurassic America, also makes a brief appearance in the Jurassic World franchise. The main inaccuracy from Jurassic Park has been carried over to the new films, in that it possesses an expandable neck frill, which seems to aid it in spitting venom at prey. In reality, neither of these adaptations have any evidence in the fossil record. Therizinosaurus, a popular dinosaur not yet shown in the Jurassic franchise's films at all, also made an appearance in Dominion. It possesses a thin layer of filamentous feathers, as it may have done in real life. But that's pretty much where the accuracies end. Its face looks like that of a meat-eating theropod, where in life, this herbivore would have supported a beak, perfect for stripping vegetation from branches. Its long arms also droop down, which would not have been the case in reality, as it roamed the late Cretaceous scrubland of Mongolia. Rather, it would have had pronated wrists, like all theropods, and its claws were more curved. The Jurassic World series of films featured more than just dinosaurs. Pterosaurs, the masters of the Mesozoic skies, were represented across all three movies, with broad variations in accuracies and inaccuracies. Pteranodon, unsurprisingly, is the most commonly depicted pterosaur of the series, which are shown to storm the park in a huge murderous flock towards the end of the first film, attacking and killing humans as they go. Firstly, the Pteranodon in Jurassic World seem to suffer the same fate as some of the theropods. They are rather drab. Pterosaurs were likely among the most colorful of Mesozoic creatures, soaring across the air with magnificent colors adorning their wings and crests as they filled the ecological niches of the birds who were yet to fully colonize the skies. The Pteranodon shown in Jurassic World is a dark brown-red color, with an almost complete lack of crest. Real-life Pteranodon was a bizarre creature, much stranger than the early depictions of it in science, which the Jurassic World version seems to recall. The beak of Pteranodon was also much longer and upwards curved in real life, allowing it to snatch fish, not people, on the wing for lunch. As the pterosaurs attack the park, they are seen to be picking unfortunate humans up using their hind legs. In reality, these legs were not at all used to lift objects. This was done by the beak. Their feet lacked the talons that would have been necessary to raise an object off the ground. And the pteranodon themselves were likely not strong enough to lift a human clear from the ground and still fly perfectly. Dimorphodon is also shown amidst the carnage as the pterosaurs descend upon the park. There are several issues with Dimorphodon in the film. Firstly, they are portrayed as large pterosaurs, capable of killing and eating humans. In reality, they would have been about a meter long, tail included, with little interest in humans if they were alive today, let alone possessing the desire to kill them. What's more is the fact that the filmmakers have given Dimorphodon the head of a theropod dinosaur, with only a few features reminiscent of the real Dimorphodon. Dimorphodon, along with the flock of murderous pteranodon, are seen to be working together to bring down a helicopter in the first film. Although pterosaurs most certainly didn't have access to military helicopters back in their day, we can say for certain that their jaws and claws would absolutely not have been strong enough to bring one down if they did coexist, nor, we assume, would they want to. For all their inaccuracies, it is actually a pterosaur that takes the trophy for the most accurate prehistoric creature in the entire Jurassic World franchise, Quetzalcoatlus. There's very little to say about the inaccuracies Jurassic World have bestowed upon these huge Cretaceous Astarchids, other than the fact that they may be just a little too big. One of the most iconic scenes of Jurassic World showed a mosasaur, a giant marine carnivorous reptile, putting on a SeaWorld-style show in front of a cheering audience as it leapt from the water in its tank to consume a shark carcass suspended from a feeder. While creative and fun to watch, we can't help but discuss the size of the Mosasaurus depicted in the famous scene. The size of the mosasaur throughout the films seems inconsistent and, at oftentimes, ridiculous. It is common knowledge that, at 24 meters in length, the blue whale is the largest animal ever to live on Earth. But fans of the Jurassic World films online have put the size of the Mosasaurus in certain scenes at anywhere between 40 and 80 meters in length, an absurd overestimation. In real life, it was around 17 meters long. It's also much more jagged and gnarled looking than a real mosasaur. These reptiles would have been the top predators of the Western Interior Seaway, cutting through the United States in the late Cretaceous, and as such, would have been smooth and streamlined, relatives of snakes and lizards, and not crocodiles, as the film would seem to assume. Its teeth are also far too jagged, randomly placed and abnormally shaped, in stark contrast to the neat, uniformly cutting teeth of a real mosasaur. The Jurassic World mosasaur also lacked the forked tongue of its real-life counterpart. It was, after all, a direct relative of snakes, and seems far too similar to the old sailors' tales of sea serpents, with its long, winding tail, layered in spikes and osteoderms. Surprisingly, Jurassic World Dominion went a step further than its predecessors and included synapsids, creatures more closely related to mammals than reptiles in the plot. Synapsids predate the dinosaurs, first appearing on Earth towards the end of the Paleozoic era, when small, scaly animals began to evolve into small, hairy animals. The most famous synapsid by far is a creature known as Dimetrodon. You'll likely recognize the animal, if not the name. Often mixed up with the dinosaurs as a member of the group, Dimetrodon was indeed not a dinosaur, nor was it even a reptile. It may look like one, but it's far more closely related to you and me than it is to Tyrannosaurus rex or Velociraptor. In Jurassic World Dominion, however, it looks very much like a reptile. Depicted as scaly, lizard-like animals, it is likely that in reality, they may have been covered in fine, fur-like material, like some of the modern mammals of the 21st century. Dimetrodon is also depicted as living deep underground in amber mines, which would have made very little sense. The sail on Dimetrodon's back is theorized to have been used as a thermoregulatory device, helping the creature control its temperature in warm and cold periods, ensuring it stays comfortable and stable. To do that, it would need access to the sun, or it would become slow and sluggish before ultimately freezing. A mine deep beneath the earth, with no access to sunlight, would have led to the quick death of a Dimetrodon, as these creatures would have much preferred it on the surface level of the earth, with easy access to heat and warmth. In the extended version of Jurassic World Dominion, there is even a brief scene featuring a Lystrosaurus, a species of incredibly successful synapsid that managed to survive the Great Dying at the end of the Permian period, going on to thrive in the Triassic too, diversifying into various other creatures that made up our early relatives. In the scene, it is being used as a combat animal for bedding, where its owners are pitting it against an oviraptor in a fight to the death. The Lystrosaurus, likely a peaceful and timid herbivore, throws itself into the opportunity to savage another creature, swiftly killing the oviraptor before tearing off its head. It goes without saying that this isn't exactly a realistic scenario, and the Lystrosaurus in this situation would likely be too terrified to take such an action. What's not as obvious is the appearance of the creature. It looks like a miniature ceratopsian dinosaur. The line of frilled, usually horned herbivores that consisted of dinosaurs such as Protoceratops and Triceratops. In reality, it wouldn't have looked much like one. In reality, it lacked the frill it is depicted with in the film, opting for a sleeker, more rodent-esque look. This brings us to the end of our analysis of the inaccuracies of the Jurassic World film franchise. While the films themselves can certainly be enjoyable and have had a major hand in throwing dinosaurs yet again into the limelight for new generations to enjoy, they would have been much more enjoyable and educational from a paleontological perspective if the creatures depicted in the movies were scientifically accurate. It is a shame that, in 2022, we are still shrink-wrapping dinosaurs, depicting them as mindless killing machines, and getting so much about their appearance, nature, and lifestyles wrong. It would pay in scenarios like this, to think of dinosaurs as the animals they were. They were not movie monsters. They were not savage, mindless killers. They were not murderous beasts. They were animals. Think of the top predators of the modern day: sharks, crocodiles, big cats, bears, wolves, birds of prey. They only kill when they need to. They are complex creatures with nuanced, interesting lives, who don't kill whenever they have access to prey. The dinosaurs would have been very much the same. They were graceful, complicated animals, whose understanding we are still learning. Jurassic World, as one of the largest pieces of dinosaur-related media of all time, could have done a lot more to integrate science into the general public if its dinosaurs were more accurate. A feathered raptor is just as scary as a raptor without feathers, especially when they're the size of Utah raptor.